3. Locked up. Two soldiers took my sling and bound my head with rope. They unlocked the gate and led me through. As we reached the crest of a slope, I would see dozens of kids walking. Kids like me. Kids who should have been playing soccer or skipping rope or chasing each other around in the school playground. What was this place? The soldiers pushed me into the building. We entered a big room with narrow windows, too narrow for anyone to squeeze through. In the dim light coming in through the windows, I saw rows of mats on the ground down the length of the room. The floor was dirt, and the air was sour with sweat and mildew. One of the soldiers saw me wrinkly my nose and laughed. You wish you had it so good, he said, and turned me towards a flight of stairs. At the top of the stairs was a corridor with closed doors lining either side. I looked around, tried to collect as much information as I could. The corridor ran the whole length of the building towards another flight of stairs, going down at the other end. Escape. How can I escape? We come to an open door leading to a little room. There was another soldier playing with cards at a desk. He was short with a shaved head. Baldy is the perfect name for you, I thought. When Baldy saw us, he hurriedly got up. Baldy reached for a ring of keys that was hanging on the wall behind his desk. My captor put out a head to take them, but Baldy held them out of his grasp. Uh-oh, said Baldy. The keys are my responsibility. My captor scowled. Fine. While you are at it, throw this somewhere. He tossed my sling onto Baldy's desk. Baldy stepped out of his office and led us further down the corridor to a row of cells. He unlocked one and the soldiers shoved me in. My wrist was still tied. The cell was small and cramped, and the air was humid. There was nothing inside but an empty bucket, a filthy pillow, and a pile of straw on the ground. Baldy closed the door and locked it. My heart pounded and my breath came in gasps. I hadn't been alone in a locked room in any room for years. I fought to keep control. I forced myself to think back, to remember the given I was before all this started. I used to love being by myself in my room. I'd read and draw and do whatever I wanted undisturbed. My sister Kay would have to knock, and I got to decide if I would let her in. But this place was different. I sniffed around the cell. It stank. The buried windows above was too high for me to see out of, but a breeze blew in, and I could catch a whiff of the forest. How I longed for the trees and my dogs. The panic threatened to return. I threw back my head and howled. 4. Check up. From the light angle through the window, it must have been around mid-afternoon when Bolly returned. "Oh, you're on your feet," he said, unlocking the gate with the jangling keys. I wanted to lunge at him, snarling and snapping, but I fought the urge. If I was going to get out of this place, I needed to be smart, and I wasn't going to escape easily while bound. I held my tired hand up at him. "I didn't think so," said Baldy, not without Fern's approval. He drew a baton from his belt and waved it at my face. "They tell me you're quick on your feet. Feel free to make a break for it, and we'll see how far you get." He gestured for me to lead the way. We went back down the corridor and came to a closed door. Baldy tapped on it with his bonnet. "Enter," came Farron's voice. We stepped through into what looked like a doctor's office. Farron was in there with a man I didn't recognize. "Here she is, ma'am," said Baldy. "Do you need me to?" "That will be all," said Farron in a clipped tone. Baldy bowed and left. Farron looked down at me sternly. "The workers who found you are telling me you were raised by wolves. Wolf girl, they call you." She arched an elbow. "I would rather have your real name." I stayed silent. Farron ripped her knuckles on the desk. "Name," she screamed. I stood defiant, staring directly into her eyes. The man next to her intervened. "Hello, young lady. I'm Dr. Andrews. It is all right if I take a look at you." I hesitated. He seemed nice enough, but I couldn't trust anyone here. He seemed my incessant. "What if I undo the rope?" he said, gesturing at my hands. He looked up to Farron, who nodded. Andrews turned back to me. Do we have a deal, Wolf Girl? It's just a few little tests to make sure you're okay." I nodded once. "Wonderful," said Andrew. He protected a scalpel and carefully caught at the rope around my wrists. "Up you hop then." He patted the examination table, and I climbed on. He then shone a light into my eyes and ears, listened to my breathing, poked and prodded me. When he asked questions, I would nod or shake my head and answer. Eventually he turned to Farron. "She seems fine," he said. "Would probably do with a bath." "Couldn't we all?" said Farron. "Now then, girl, it's time to stop this foolishness. I know you can talk. I am told you asked about your family after you came out of the forest. So who are you? What were you doing out there? I lowered my head, letting my tangled hair fall over my eyes. I thought about my dogs, wondering where they were. What if they stumbled across some soldiers? Would they attack or have the scene to hide? Thinking about them made me anxious. What about those dogs you were with? Said Farron, as if reading my thoughts. I could not help but glance at her angrily. Are you trained? Said Farron. Are they attack dogs? Did you all escape from another camp? I remained silent. Said Farron. Perhaps I should send the hunters out to look for them. They could take their net gun, maybe capture them all. I scowled at her, and then Farron said, leaning forward, we will throw them in a river. I sprang at her. I scratched her face, and she yelled with rage. She grabbed me and held me at arm's length while I lashed at her. Bolly raced back in with another guard and they hurled me off her, forcing my arms behind my back. Back to her cell, Fern shouted as she touched a finger to her red, reddened cheek. No food until she talks. As Bolly dragged me out of the room, Dr. Andrews said, at least you were in the right place to get a bandage. I almost thought he winked at me.